Hello everybody, how are you doing? My second video today is Damon List, and today I said that I was tempted in making a wrestler's equivalent in Hollywood. So that would mean what Hollywood actor would I compare to a certain wrestler through their trial and tribulation, maybe a personality, characteristic traits? How would I compare and why? I'm not gonna say why because of looks, because there's some people that would look just at looks and say, hey, this person looks like this. Okay? If I basically, I'm not gonna say the RVD looks like might look like Jacques Van Damme in the face, but I'm not comparing RVD to Jacques Van Damme. Spoiler alert. To me, it's disposition, traits, character, career, and sometimes there are obstacles, there are trials, tribulations. So, without further ado, I will start with one of my favorite wrestlers ever, Bret Hart. Who could Bret Hart possibly compare in Hollywood? And I kind of racked my brain up, and I said, why not? Why not Michael Keaton? I think Bret Hart compares to Michael Keaton in many ways. First of all, here's a guy who people doubted, who doubted basically there's basically that there would be basically top billing. Like Bret Hart, people doubted basically would man have basically in the only issue, basically thought maybe he was good as IC champion, but world champion. And look what happened. You beat Bret and end up being helping drawing the best international markets in the world, and basically end up from a person that people doubted to eventually being a guy who was W champion. And not only can you believe that, but it felt like from 1992 to 1997, Bret Hart was often WWE champion just about every year was champion 1992, 1993, 1994, 95 the end, 1996, 97. Every year from 1992 to 1997, count them, Bret Hart has been WWE champion at one part or another of that year. So yeah, Michael Keaton. Here's a person that after he did Mr. Mom, he did Beetlejuice. People just saw him comedy. What happened afterwards? He was cast as from Tim Burton's Batman. People doubted this. I think they doubted Tim Burton's Batman. They also doubted Michael Keaton's ability to play Batman. People forget that they were before all of this nonsense of people counting out people were going to be cast in Batman. And FYI, it's become basically a tradition that every time somebody's cast for a movie of Batman, there's always somebody complain. Whether it's Michael Keaton as Batman in the Tim Burton version, whether it's Christian Bale, there wasn't that much, but people say, hey, it could have done. Like some people wonder why it wasn't like Josh Hartnett, so or Dark Knight. There was a lot of complaints, guys, when Heath Ledger was cast. And it's nearly 10. It was cast. It was cast around in 2006 for a movie that came out 2 years later, and people complain about that. When Ben Affleck was cast in 2013 for Batman, like 2, 3 years before Batman Superman's supposed to come out, people complain about that. And people complain about Robin Pattinson being cast as Batman in The Batman. So let's take you back to Michael Keaton being cast as Batman. Nobody thought, or basically feels like a lot of people believe, like, hey, he's going to be a funny Batman and basically this. And he does have a funny Bruce Wayne at times. And they thought he was just going to be redoing what Beetlejuice did. Well, and they had to basically, I remember basically hearing that they had to make a special trailer, hastily done, because there was not a score in the back, just to convince people to go see the Batman movie. Just to show him what Michael Keaton would look like, basically the atmosphere, the ambiance was for that movie. And looking at a trailer, even today, I would say, man, I'd love to see that in a movie theater. The fact it's still playing at movie theaters today, it's like I would love to re-see it as a movie theater if it was showing up in my city, but it's not the case. But why isn't it important? Because back with Michael Keaton, here's some after that Michael Keaton was revealed, that trailer was revealed, people were going to the movie theater, paying a movie they didn't intend to go see, just to see the trailer and then leave. Now we have YouTube. If you want to see a trailer, you can rewatch it, rewatch it, rewatch it, rewatch it, rewatch it. Back in the day, back in the 80s, 90s, if you want to see a trailer, you had to go see a movie. If not, you had no expect to see a movie trailer. So maybe that's the reason why they're more polished now, because you have to get a great impression and anybody can access it to the touch of magic of YouTube. Back in the day, you couldn't. But I'll say this, it's just for the bread. Now, after people complain about Michael Keaton being Batman at first, he played so damn well across two movies. He didn't even do a trilogy. And now, well, he did The Flash, but people see him as basically, as the Batman, as the essential Batman now. And we're still down with him playing an elderly Bruce Wayne in a Batman movie, in a Batman Beyond movie, which I think would be great if it was like help along with Tim Burton to at least end his saga, give us closure on his Batman. But it's not just a Batman series why I'm concerned that I felt like Bret Hart and Michael Keaton are, because I felt like both of them increased business. But the moment Batman Returns came in, and you wouldn't have another Batman movie with Michael Keaton, there's like a down there. It's like or you wouldn't have another Bret Hart match in WWE. It felt like a big part of those franchise where WWE losing Bret Hart, whereas DC losing its original Batman. It felt like a big part was lost. And it felt like I felt both Bret and Michael Keaton struggle. They struggle. Like that Bret Hart in WCW, like he struggled. And Michael Keaton for a while struggled in terms of getting a footing in terms of acting afterwards. Yeah, he did Multiplicity, but afterwards, what he did, Jack Frost, like he was trying, I mean, a tough time finding roles that basically were very substantial. He was basically playing bit parts in movies. But it's not just because people be able to prove people wrong, but it's also resilience. Why I put both of them together? Why? Because in this case, Bret Hart was able to prove people wrong and go to WCW, win the world title, and still have some great match with Chris Benoit, Booker T, and even later on in the 2010s, he was able to rebuild this. Basically, we're able to come to grip with his legacy, becoming more content with his legacy. So he was able to get some resurgence. Michael Keaton also had a resurgence in the 2010s. He did The Other Guys. Uh, he did Birdman. Birdman, which is basically, let's be honest, a meta kind of movie which basically is showing what a person who did many, many superhero movies was a struggle to basically be recognized more as an actor. That's basically Birdman. It's kind of basically a bit too meta and basically makes me feel like without Michael Keaton, that movie would not make sense. So he did this, he did Spotlight. He was Spider-Man Homecoming doing the Vulture, which is like an evil version of Batman. He did afterwards, uh, I'm trying to see, or The Founder. He also did The Flash and Beetlejuice. In The Flash, he's back at Batman. It's like his resurgence is going back to the role he did, but this time he has. I feel like he basically accrued not a better sense of the character. He already knew what the character is. He accrued uh, a more worldwide recognized, like people more critically. He's more critically acclaimed than he used to be. Bret Hart was able to also diversify. He was always critically acclaimed in terms of it, but it's like this time he proved himself not just in WWE land, he proved himself across WCW as well. And when he came back to WWE in 2010, even if it's just like his bad match with Bret and Vince, I felt like it's like he felt closure. Like both of them found closure there. Again, I still maintain we should need to have a Batman continues to have a complete closure, but hey, one step at a time. Like both of them were able to show some determination and show why they are regarded as the best messed up. Now, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, who can I compare it? Like hey, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise? No. How about Daniel Day-Lewis? Daniel Day-Lewis is not known as to be the highest drawing actor there is. He's known to be the guy who's going to inhibit basically any character that you put him on paper, he's going to inhabit them. Now he did it with Bill the Butcher. He did it with Christy Brown in My Left Foot, won an Oscar for that. How about Danielle Plainview, There Will Be Blood, Abraham Lincoln in Lincoln, among other roles. However, he's kind of known to be sometimes so much a method actor that he becomes kind of an asshole. Like anybody who learned about Christy Brown, the guy pretended like, hey, you know what? I can't move. My character cannot move. Yeah, your character can move, but you can't move. Or he refuses, for example, to If he's in character in a movie where it's basically in the 1800s, he refused to carry around a cell phone on him or even answer a cell phone in his private time because for him, he's not Daniel Day-Lewis, he's Bill the Butcher, which is kind of ridiculous. Like when I hear this, I think you're just looking for a reason to be an ass. So there's this. Then you have for Shawn Michaels. What can I say about Shawn Michaels that hasn't been said? To me, my favorite wrestler ever. He's damn good in the ring. We know what to space, like excitement in ring psychology. But more than about him, he was so difficult to submit to the actor sometimes in ways that like he made everybody miserable. Despite having great matches, damn good matches, but what made everybody miserable. And while Daniel Day-Lewis came back from basically at Oscars, I could say Shawn Michaels did retire and then came back and still had great matches. Still has maybe some conflicts backstage, but he wasn't as much a pain in the ass as he used to be. But both of them happen to sometimes go into the method actor thing too much and you become an asshole. But at the same time, I will never deny either of those talents because they're damn good. And theoretically enough, they're the best in that field. Now, who else can I put? Because I'm not going to do everyone in Hollywood. They'll be 2 hours. I was thinking, who is more beloved than the late great Robin Williams? I saw the late great Owen Hart. I saw Owen Hart and Robin Williams. Both of them are related in some ways in terms of, well, not biologically related, but they're related in terms of both of them beloved. Both of them basically were so funny and like to basically they would rib people, they would make jokes, pranks, and they would improv. The point they would make everybody else in the cast crack. And both of them are sorely missed today. I mean, that's what I mean. Like Robin Williams, and nobody plays a genie like Robin Williams. But at the same time, he did Mrs. Doubtfire, Good Morning Vietnam. He did. I'm trying to think every one of his comedies. But he didn't just do comedies, he did adventures. He did many different styles. He did Hook. He did Good Will Hunting, which is a drama, which he finally won an Oscar for. He was able to make you emotional there. It's like, what else can he do? Top of my head. He did also Psychopaths in one Insomnia, one and 1 hour photo. And yeah, he did tons of movies. I love variety. This is what I would say with Owen Hart. He made you laugh. He's a prankster, but he played a different kind of roles in WB. He played the basic jealous brother in 994. He played the narcissistic uh person who thinks the Slammy Awards is more important than anything in 996. The black heart in 998. The sole survivor, basically the person who was happy putting people on the shelf 997. He played different kind of roles as well in WB. He was able to show some different range. That's why I put him both of them are paired together. Now, for Randy Orton, I might basically I will pair him with the person who I feel like not only looks like him physically, but has a kind of similar background and all with him. And that's Josh Brolin. Yeah, that's right. I would pair up Randy Orton with the guy with the Thanos. And why? Because both of them are either third generation or second generation superstar in their own field. Josh Brolin is a second generation actor, was Randy Orton is third generation actor. Both of them on different trials, basically in tribulation. Basically, both of them started young. Like I mean, Josh Brolin started with the Goonies. Randy Orton started very young in the business and made, well, no, basically trial tribulations there. But yeah, Josh Brolin grew from an actor that basically started young. That was a lull. He was in Hollow Man. Then he was in Planet Terror. Then he basically started with No Country for Old Men, which really started his rise up to Hollywood. He did W. He did True Grit. He did Milk, etc. And now he's known as the guy who did Thanos. But despite if I guess other roles his name, he was in Dune as well. Randy Orton also like started young, basically started as a legend killer, but after a while I felt like it was one dimensional. But honestly, from 1990 2007, I thought his role was pretty one dimensional, but then he ended up becoming the Viper 2008, basically 2010, basically 2010 was like Austin-esque. He wasn't Austin, but it was Austin-esque. Like he became basically a face, despite still being the same as a heel. Then he turned on that he became an authority champion. Then he came back as Avengers. as an avenging babyface and joined the Wyatts. Then afterwards, he became returned back to Most Dangerous Letters, the arc of sports entertainment RKO, to feuding with the Wyatts, RK Bro. Now basically uh, a revamp and more muscular version of himself to now as a heel with Pat McAfee. Like he evolved a lot. Like he showed a lot of range as well. But like Josh Brolin, he had a lot of tribulation, a lot of growing up in that industry for this to happen. Now, talking about method actors are not as severe as it's Daniel Day-Lewis, but are very good at what they do. I would compare Daniel Bryan to Christian Bale. Yeah, Christian Bale is the Terminator Salvation incident there for with the director of photography, but he apologized many times. I feel like Daniel Bryan also had an incident where he shouted, I think, to Triple H backstage really loudly. It's like because both of them are really so much into their match, so much in their performance, so much in their basically their to their set that sometimes they forget that you're putting on a show, you're putting on a performance. Like they take it so seriously, but not extreme like Daniel Day-Lewis or Shawn Michaels. They could also sometimes take a step back before they become full-on dicks. They became like basically they were more rational there. So that's why I would mention like and yeah, Christian Bale. All I hear now is basically Christian Bale. Yeah, I wouldn't say he does less movies, but it's also spending times for humanitarian causes. So that's very, very charitable, very, very admirable. Daniel Bryan also basically spent a lot of time, basically, he doesn't wrestle anymore, but spend more time doing other stuff with his life. So I think both of them can be compared there. Now, one that's basically is Mick Foley and Kevin Smith. Both of them show to me not just persistence, but perseverance. Both of them were starting to feel that. Let's be honest. Look at Mick Foley. Look at Kevin Smith. None of them would seem on paper, physically, like they would be. They're great actor, great wrestler, great director. Like, but yet, in an unconventional way, they found a way to not get remarked by the system, but also become some of the prime players of the system. Mick Foley, I mean, physically doesn't look like the stereotypical or pro prototypical wrestler. Kevin Smith didn't have any acting background before becoming a director, basically this, and yet he did Clerks, which was still great success that leads to Chasing Amy, leads to Dogma, it leads to Jane Bob Strike Back, it leads to Clerks 2, leads to Zack and Mary, leads to Tusk, leads to Red State, leads to Clerks 3, and on and on and on. He also did basically some hilarious An Evening with Kevin Smith. uh, spectacles in which he had great, great stories, especially the one with the Superman thing and the rules for Superman, and that was hilarious. And that's the thing with Mick Foley. Like Mick Foley, basically, he wasn't in a way supposed to make it that big, but he did, and he did it in conventional ways. Instead of him basically making movies in black and white, he would basically make sure to have death matches all over the place and wrestle his many hardcore match, basically patting himself to his idol Terry Funk. And and that to him in WWE and many, many champion. He started Mankind, and Mankind was basically supposed to be the only wrestler who had basically an entrance team song and an outro team song. Let's not forget that. The moment he won, he basically had the Carrie slash Friday 13th calm song at the end. I thought it was awesome. Like the level of details they played in this character, and eventually he was undeniable, actually became WWE champion. But let's make no mistake, the guy was just started, was just simply put, he was just started as, was simply put to just be an individual, a placeholder opponent for The Undertaker. And I think Vince Evans said that this hiring is on New JR. AKA saying he didn't want to, Vince McMahon did not want to hire Mick Foley at the beginning. Eventually, he had to eat his word. He had to eat crow because he ended up being damn good, showing he's a damn good, reliable wrestler. and is a part of many memorable moments. The one when he won the championship in his hometown in early 1999, the Hell in a Cell moment, the Undertaker and Mankind feud period, and yeah, his match with Triple H as Cactus Jack. There's many important moments with Mick Foley there, and both of them are very unconventional, but to me deserve their place at the top of their field. Now, Undertaker. Who could I basically compare The Undertaker to? And I thought Jack Nicholson would be a great way. Because Jack Nicholson, currently on a Jack Nicholson kick. I've rewatched some of his movies. Sure, you might think, yeah, I love Batman 89, but it's not just Batman 89. I love Batman 89, but you can't say you watch Jack Nicholson only by watching this movie. You have to watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You have to see A Few Good Men, about Five Easy Peas, The Last Detail. As good as it gets, something's got to give. The Departed, all of those movies, and I found myself like saying, "Damn, some of my favorite movies ever include Jack in a prominent role." And the reason why I'm putting Taker and Jack Nicholson together is the quality of the work, not just one decade. I think at least 4 decades of each. Longevity is the reason I put both of them together. That's why I think this. When I think Jack Nicholson, I think in the 70s. Again, just the 70s. The ones I remember. I thought Chinatown was kind of boring, but it's loves performance. But in the 70s, whether the performance I remember of Jack Nicholson in the 70s, I remember One for Gooseness. I remember The Last Detail. I remember Five Easy Peas. What about the 80s? The 80s. Oh, there's uh The Shining, Priest's Honor. And you could say in this case, of course, Batman 89. What about the 90s? I remember in the 90s there be As Good as It Gets, A Few Good Men, and there was something else. I think it was something else I forgot. In the 2000s, I got several movies. I got About Schmidt, and I got Departed, and Something's Gonna Give. Like many good see. Like I just remember Jack Nicholson by himself there. Maybe I forgot a movie. Maybe you can send in the post in the comment section. As far as the Taker, like that's basically Jack Nicholson in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, because 2010 was the last movie out, and it wasn't that great. What about The Undertaker as The Undertaker? As The Undertaker. You had the 90s, you had the 2000, you had 2010s, and you have the year 2020. So what do we remember? 90s, you have basically his debut, you have him beating Hogan for his first ever WWE Championship. You got me, brother. About the casket match with Yokozuna. About basically him facing Bret Hart in the Royal Rumble 1996, facing Diesel, facing his feud with Mankind, winning the WWE title at WrestleMania 13, about his feud with Kane, especially WrestleMania 14, his match, about the SummerSlam 1998 match with Steve Austin. That's his first decade. About the 2000s, you get, even if it's American Badass, you have him basically in the six-way Armageddon Hell in a Cell match. You have him return at WrestleMania 20 against Kane. You have Undertaker versus Orton, is WrestleMania streak on the line. You have Undertaker versus Batista for the World Heavyweight title. Him win the 2007 Royal Rumble. Is the best ending to a Rumble ever. About him versus Edge, which is very underrated for World Heavyweight title match because it just was overshadowed with Flair and Edge. About the best WrestleMania match of all time with Shawn and Taker. You have the 2010s when he faced Shawn Michaels in the WrestleMania 26 main event in a basically a streak versus career match. How about facing Triple H next year? About the Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 28 with Triple H? How about WrestleMania 29? CM Punk versus Undertaker. I'm skipping WrestleMania 30. We could go basically to, I think it was another match I did. It was great, but I don't forget. And then there's WrestleMania 36 against AJ Styles, which is in the 2020s, this decade. So both of them had great longevity in this case. So that's why I would put them as the defining characters for both of them. Now, Roman Reigns, I will pair him up with Jason Momoa, and not just because of looks, because you could say that, but they made something that's not supposed to work so well. And since I mean, both of them started out as basically a second generation star, or in the case of Jason Momoa, starting a franchise that already happened, they're just trying to reboot. I mean, people forgot that Jason Momoa got his start as Baywatch. Yeah, he started Baywatch. It wasn't even the first Baywatch show, but it's how he started. Then he ended up to being in the reboot of Conan the Barbarian. Did you see it? I didn't. I mean, he started off with other movies in terms of the muscle until he hit his peak. And he hit his peak, to me, peak role in a movie that people didn't expect to be that big. And that is Aquaman. The first Aquaman, or Justice League Aquaman, nobody expected Aquaman to be, let's be honest, that big of a deal. We all thought, it'd be a great movie. It's gonna be a modest hit. Newsflash, I think it might be the biggest hit of the DCU beside Wonder Woman, which I still feel my way. FYI, I think Jason Momoa's Aquaman should have been retained as well as Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. And I feel like the DCU could have been basically you could have transferred to DCU to DCU by you continue the actors playing the characters, you just make new movies with those characters. How about that? And you save a lot of time and effort because right now the DCU is going because you lost their trust because you're just going to reboot every time you don't get your way. And it feels very selfish because it's an ego-driven thing because it's like, hey, you know what? I didn't write those characters, so therefore they don't exist. La 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 la. That's what it feels with James Gunn. And what's gonna happen when basically not just Supergirl, but if Superman, Man of Tomorrow is not a great hit? Are they gonna reboot again? I doubt so. But maybe Warner Brothers will say never mind. So in this case, uh Jason Momoa as Aquaman wasn't supposed to be that great or long lasting, but it happened to be so. I mean, Roman Reigns basically he started as second generation star, son of Sika, and as the big dog, he was good as Shield, great role, basically at the same time there. Then he was pushed on his own and it didn't work as much. It was like bits and pieces, but he found his true calling as the tribal chief. And again, this like could have really landed badly. Could have basically been people don't tolerate him as a heel, but they end up liking him to the point where they end up turning him face, although they never really turn him face, but he's still much of a dick as a face. I don't know. But still, both of them made themselves like they're both people who I felt like their roles were not supposed to be as big. They were supposed to be big, but not as big as they turned out to be. You expect them to be modest success and now it be tremendous success. And I know that Jason Momoa now is doing Lobo, but I felt like you could still do Aquaman and Lobo. You just don't put in the same movie. That's it. How about that? Okay. Who's next? CM Punk. I know physically they could look at like Jim Carrey, but I wouldn't say not Jim Carrey. I would say Matt Damon. He reminds me of Matt Damon in a way. I mean, he Matt Damon toiled some independent projects before basically doing The Rainmaker, doing Goodwill Hunting, which basically propelled him to the top, doing The Talented Mr. Ripley, doing Dogma, and eventually hit basically his franchise with Jason Bourne. And that is what else? I'm trying to see other movies that he did that people might actually recognize. Yeah, he did Interstellar, basically he did The Martian. He basically started the whole trail of let's bring Matt Damon home trill genre. And he did. He created his own genre in some ways. And yeah, and now he's in the Odyssey, which I'm really looking forward to see. Screw what people can say about this. It's based on the book. Might not be basically a story accurate, but at the same time, the Odyssey is fiction. So yeah. And CM Punk, again, he was in the Indies for a while and eventually became big. And he produced his own, well, produced. He basically was able to be the main ingredient for his own success. So yeah, that's how I can classify this. Stone Cold Steve Austin, I will classify him as Bruce Willis or Jason Statham. I don't know which because I could see John McClane, the Die Hard franchise. I could say, hey, you know what? That's the equivalent of Stone Cold, like a guy who was not supposed to be such of a badass, but he's put in a situation where he has to be a badass. And could also be Jason Statham because both of them, I feel like Bruce Willis and the Jason Statham action movies is you know what to expect when you see one of them. Especially Jason Statham. I'm not seeing a Jason Statham to see a movie about basically the turmoil of the human soul. I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting to see a good ass kicking and see some characters getting their ass kicked by Jason Statham. Maybe that's what I see in Stone Cold. I didn't expect to see Stone Cold basically say, "Let me show me my dramatic rage. Let me show you that can be basically as great of an actor like Daniel Day-Lewis." No, I'm gonna kick ass, basically be my usual badass self, and that's it. So that's why I mentioned this. But at the same time, Bruce Willis, in terms of Die Hards, Sin City, like a lot of different range. Basically, sometimes, I mean, Die Hards is still different than Sin City, but Die Hard and the movie Red One and Red Two, it's like I don't know about Red Two, but Red One still gross a lot of money there, and it's like it's similar in genre. Basically, Jason Statham, basically Expendables one, two, three. So yeah. Funny fact: Stone Cold Steve Austin was one of the bad guys in the first Expendable movie. About Kane, Kane will be John C. Riley. John C. Riley is a very, very great character actor. But you don't recognize that much, but you've probably seen him in many movies. And he can do comedy and he can do serious. He was serious in Chicago. He was in Gangs of New York. But it was very funny. As basically you recognize him often for the Will Ferrell movie. He was basically as Cal Newton in Talladega Nights. I thought that was he was Watson in Holmes and Watson. And he was I don't remember. I think it was Dale in Step Brothers. So he was in a lot of comedies. He also was the voice of Wreck-It Ralph. Kane was never the number one, like, was still very intimidating. Came out as very serious, intimidating from 1999 to maybe 2012. Then he actually showed up basically more comedic factor, and basically when he was part of Team L, no. Like a very integral part of WWE, but he showed that he could be playing comedy or he could be serious. But at the same time, it's not the person who would be you wouldn't put him as the face of the WWE. Now, Steve Blackman, I would put him as Chuck Norris. Do I need to explain why? Moving on. Uh, Chris Jericho, I would liken him to Gary Oldman. Talk about character actors, and the reason why is because Chris Jericho always insists on evolving. Well, at least for a long time he did. Here's a guy who never wants to repeat unless if he wants to repeat something, it's basically like just like a transition to his next metamorphosis. I mean, Gary Oldman is a guy that people started to give credit basically, I think, more in the 1990s and 2000s of how many things he did. And both Chris Jericho and Gary Oldman mostly morph themselves characters who happen to be bad guys. That's what I've noticed. I mean, Chris Jericho went from basically bland baby face and high-fiving baby face to whiny, petulant heel born on conspiracies in WWE to WWE then Y2J. At first being a narcissistic heel to become a party animal face to have shown before me pretending he's a living legend to all of a sudden becoming the host of the highlight reel, then the honest man gimmick in 2008. Then afterwards, his wannabe gimmick when he came back 2012. To afterwards doing a repeat, basically. Uh, he would reclaim the Y2J gimmick. Then afterwards, the list of Jericho in 2016. Then the lead champion in AW. Uh, then the Jericho Appreciation Society. To afterwards, the learning tree. To now, basically grizzled vet, but basically feels like he's doing playing the hits for his career. It's many transformations there. Oh, and I forgot the Painmaker. I forgot the Painmaker as well. It's a lot of transformation for one wrestler while keeping the same name. Gary Oldman. Of course, his character cannot be Gary Oldman, but how many transformation the guy did? Bram Stoker Dracula, Hannibal. I remember when Hannibal came out, nobody knew it was him under the makeup because he didn't want his name to be credited. I mean, there's this, the villain Jean Baptiste in Fifth Element, the villain in Lost in Space. Yeah, he played a lot of villains. But he was Sirius Black. He was Lieutenant Commissioner Gordon, Dark Knight Trilogy, which was weird not seeing him as a bad guy. I mean, he was Dreyfus in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. He was, and he won an award for basically Winston Churchill. And now he's in Slow Horses. And I'm probably mentioned a lot other roles I didn't mention, but still, he disguised himself so well with such ease. That's why I pair both of them together. And I'm going to mention several roles before because I don't want to waste your time. Hulk Hogan as Arnold. Both of them were big. Both of them were exciting in a way. And I mean exciting at the moment you saw them, they were doing their things, you were riveted to the screen. But I felt like they all have maybe one or two styles. It's like it was better when they stuck their style. Hogan and the Hogan-esque. I mean, you wouldn't want Hogan to all of a sudden do a moonsault. And Arnold when he stuck to cheesy action movies or Terminator movies. I love Arnold, but let's be honest, that's where he peaked. Rock would be what like Sylvester Stallone. I would pair The Rock with Sylvester Stallone because, yeah, they're mostly action stars, but they're very talented in terms of drama. In fact, sometimes understated. Go rewatch the first Rocky with Sylvester Stallone. Don't tell me that the guy cannot act. He's damn good in the movie. Was damn good in Creed, and he was damn good in Copland as well. Rock is not always the best actor. I mean, he usually does his usual movie, but he was damn good in the Smashing Machine. I was thinking of another movie where he shows some good range, and I had one in mind. Damn it, I forgot the title. But anyway, two movies where I feel like the guy has some dramatic range in him. Oh, and Moana as well. Like it shows that he doesn't have to just do one style. And when he tries to be dramatic and not try to be, hey, here's The Rock playing a role, see what happens. Sometimes magic can happen when he's trying to be The Rock. Oh yeah, Pain and Gain, Pain and Gain. When he's not trying to be The Rock, sometimes it helps. Now, Sami Zayn will liken him to Will Ferrell. Same thing like this. Sami Zayn and Will Ferrell are both known to make the cast or their fellow wrestler crack. And both of them can be hilarious, but they're not just hilarious. They can do drama too. Will Ferrell was Stranger Than Fiction, Everything Must Go. Sami Zayn made you feel for him when he came back, basically in 2023, when he basically broke away from Bloodline. Basically, uh, when he ended Gunther's undefeated streak and IC title reign at WrestleMania 40. So they both can be doing this. John Cena, of course, is what Mark Wahlberg, but people forget that Mark Wahlberg is a very talented actor. So they forgot that before like Mark Wahlberg, yeah, he has his shtick now that people can make fun of, but hey, he's able to do great movies. Like he did The Departed. It's like basically a lot of his movies afterwards were they're derivated from his persona in The Departed. But he also did Ted. He did Daddy's Home. We did many comedies there, so that's very fun. Fun was John Cena. I mean, movies he did. He did Suicide Squad, which is funny, but he's also able to, do some drama at times as well. So he was able to be in the movie Sisters, and it's funny, but he can do some movies where he's earnest, but it can also be like Bumblebee. He was able to be kind of a pseudo bad guy, but you could see his point of view. He's better than you think in terms of movies. Not Batista good, but it's pretty good. So yeah. Now, I would say William Regal be the Sir Michael Caine. Both of them add a tinge of class every time they're on screen. Basically, every time they talk, basically feels like, you know what, they had something to screen. So, do I need to explain more? And finally, RVD and Matthew McConaughey together. Of course. All right, all right, all right. Both of them being excellent, but at the same time, it's when they go outside their comfort zone, you can see the difference. And sometimes you can feel that they're trying and basically doing more effort, not just more effort, but they come up better than they think outside the comfort zone than when they are. What I mean, Matthew McConaughey used to do a lot of rom-com movies, rom-com flicks. 10 Things I Hate About You, Ghost of Girlfriend's Past, and basically your wedding planner, and was made in Manhattan, I think. And people were starting to just brush off his talents until he did Mud and basically did Dallas Buyers Club. And basically people took notice that, hey, this guy is a damn good actor. He won an Oscar. Then he did Interstellar. He did A Wolf of in Wall Street. And you could see now that people are critically acclaimed actor. RVD. RVD people saw this as basically is hilarious. persona, like do whatever. It's like, but then in 2006, it's like, okay, I felt like the moment basically when Money in the Bank, it's like we added another dimension to this persona. Basically, somebody was determined to go back to ECW, but at the same time prove that every one of his distractor was wrong by winning the BB title. And I felt like for a while, you saw a more intense version of RVD. It was still fun loving, but at the same time, you want to be W champion, you want to be ECW champion, and you saw that. So those are basically the ones I would case basically the wrestling equivalent. So I think I rambled up enough. I think it'll be 40 minutes there. Let me know what you think. If there's other examples I forgot down below, let me know. Have a great day. Bye.